Welcome back to the Morning Kickoff Show. I'm your host, Matt Witt, and we are back to preview Minnesota Vikings Week 11 matchup where the Vikings will host the 6-3 Dallas Cowboys back at the U.S. Bank Stadium, the best stadium in the league, after the Vikings just took care of business the last 2 weeks on the road. Last week, taking care of the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, many consider to be the toughest place to play. Many consider to be the loudest fan base in the league, and some consider to have been the best team in the league. Well, to be the best team, you have to beat the best, and that's what the Vikings just did. Week before that, the Minnesota Vikings on the road, Kirko, Chains, Thuggins on the road against his former team took care of the Washington Commanders in the worst stadium in this league, FedEx Field. Now the Vikings, after playing in two tough places to play, are back at home. Oh, wait. Vikings are back at home. And people still doubt us. The Vikings are 2-point underdogs at home against the Dallas Cowboys team that is coming off of a loss to the Green Bay Packers. Minnesota Vikings will play the Cowboys Sunday, 3:25 Central Time on CBS. Great news for Vikings fans in the Minnesota area. 12 o'clock in Central Time, you get to watch the Philadelphia Eagles game. Hopefully that one could set up a good mood going into this one, as if the Eagles lose on Sunday and the Vikings win, Vikings will have the best record in the entire NFL and obviously on top of the NFC, getting that 1 seed first round bye, looking at the playoff picture right now. So you get to watch that game right after you get to watch the Vikings-Cowboys game on CBS. Our week already started off great. It would just be awesome to see this week continue with the 12 o'clock game going our way where the Eagles lose and then maybe beating the Cowboys, where the Vikings are 2-point underdogs. Thank you, Vegas, and whoever is all these sporting books for giving the Vikings underdogs in this game, because we all know, us Vikings fans know, and when I say Vikings fans, I'm not talking about the bandwagons. I'm talking about Vikings fans know that this team is best when we are doubted. This team is best when we're underdogs. When everybody's high on us, we tend to not look that great. And you can say the same about all Minnesota sports. But looking at it right now, I did just mention how tough it is to play at US Bank Stadium, and that the Vikings being underdogs at home is pretty incredible when you're coming out of 7 straight victories. But it's not tough for the Cowboys to win in the US Bank Stadium, as they've never lost in the bank. The Cowboys right now are 3-0 at US Bank Stadium. And the most recent one last year, where the Vikings lost to Cooper Rush, who ruined our Halloween. Cooper Rush, thank you. Your orange hair ruining our Halloween, looking like a Halloween costume, coming to the US Bank Stadium to take care of the Vikings on primetime. I believe it was a Sunday Night Football game, if I have that right. Well, just terrible. But like I mentioned many times, and I've said this before the season, I'll said it during the season, and I'll say it again. This is not the same Vikings team we've seen from the past. So yes, I can pull up these stats. I can say, oh, the Cowboys have are undefeated at US Bank Stadium. They're 3-0. The Cowboys have a good record against the Vikings. They usually beat the Vikings, let's be completely honest. But we're not the same Vikings team. And I'll continue to say it. Like, it doesn't matter how many stats I pull up. This Vikings team is not the same team that I'm digging these stats from, because this is an entirely different atmosphere here in Minnesota. I know it. You know it. We all know it. Last year, against the Dallas Cowboys, our best player on offense, Justin Jefferson, saw 2 receptions for 25 yards. Now, all credit to Trayvon Diggs. He did an outstanding job, and he's been great this season. It's going to be a fun matchup to watch. Justin Jefferson, who's been one of the best receivers, if not the best this season, going up against one of the best man-to-man corners in the league. Doesn't matter. Justin Jefferson's a beast. Get the ball to him. I don't care who he's going up against. I don't care who you throw against Justin Jefferson. Throw Revis. Throw Darrelle Revis on Justin Jefferson. Throw the ball to him 20, 50 times a game. I don't care who's on him. I don't care if he's on Revis Island. I don't care if he's on Deion Sanders Island. Whatever you do, have Justin Jefferson get the ball. And Jefferson was cleared to play in this game, by the way. This is undoubtedly the game of the week. Going to be really interesting to watch. I mean, the NFC East is a tough matchup. It doesn't matter who we play in the NFC East. They're all 500 or above. We barely beat the Washington Commanders. We got wrecked to the Philadelphia Eagles. We have the Giants still to go near the end of the season. It's a tough conference. What was division? What was once the NFC least is now the NFC beast. I don't know. I was looking for something that rhymed. Anyways, Minnesota injury report for this matchup. Unfortunately, we have 3 players that might not play in this game. Great news is Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw were cleared to play. And unfortunately, with that being said, Kevin O'Connell has ruled out a Caleb Evans and Dalvin Tomlinson. And Zadarius Smith is a game-time decision for the Minnesota Vikings, still with his knee injury has been limited this week. And we hope Zadarius Smith can be back to play. Obviously, he's been suffering with this injury for some time now, has played in the games usually when I'd expect that he's going to end up playing. I mean, the Vikings need to win this game. It's a NFC opponent against a playoff team. I mean, you got to win this game, especially because you don't want to lose to another NFC playoff team like you did the last time we played an NFC playoff team. Looking at it for the Minnesota Vikings, still, whether Zadarius Smith plays in this game or not, I think it's not going to be the end of the world. Patrick Jones has done a great job. He's having quietly a breakout season. DJ Wanham's been great since he's entered the league. Looking at it for the Dallas Cowboys sideline, they also have some core injuries here. DeMarcus Lawrence is questionable play. Now, he'll likely play in this matchup, as they've mentioned, but yeah, he's going to play. Don't worry about him. On top of this, Anthony Barr, familiar name, familiar face right there. Questionable play in this game. Limited participant this week with a hamstring injury. He's playing in the right system alongside Micah Parsons there. Not very hard to have a good season for him. Anthony Brown, another familiar face who we play just about every year because, like I mentioned, this is the 4th year in a row we're playing the Cowboys. We've got the better of Anthony Brown for most of the years. Limited participant this week with a concussion. Whether he plays or not, it's going to be fine. I mean, Anthony Brown's kind of overrated, let's be honest. Ezekiel Elliott is also questionable playing this game. Zeke was a limited participant this week with his knee injury. He hasn't played since week 7, so there's not really a reason for them to rush Ezekiel Elliott back anyways. I mean, Tony Pollard is a monster. We all knew Tony Pollard was. We knew how good he was. We didn't realize that he was going to put up these numbers like he has for the Cowboys this season. So why are the Dallas Cowboys 6-3? And how can the Vikings make them 6-4? Looking at it for the Vikings right now, number one thing why the Cowboys are good, they can run the rock all day long. Whether Zeke plays or not, they can run the dang ball. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league. Their offensive line is honestly stepped down, but okay, they still have a good offensive line. Let's not dismiss that. They have a great offensive line, but it's more just the fact of who's carrying the ball. Tony Pollard has 2 straight games where he's over 100 yards rushing. With that game against Chicago, where I believe he had like 130 plus rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, something ridiculous. I don't know. They run the ball all over every team. CeeDee Lamb is a monster. Now, CeeDee Lamb's kind of overshadowed for how good Justin Jefferson was. I mean, that 2020 draft class for wide receivers was outstanding. You have Justin Jefferson, who's arguably the best receiver in the league, going to be playing in this game. Excited, so happy to see him that he was back. I almost had a heart attack when I saw him enter the injury report for the Vikings. Great news that he will play in this game, though. But still, Justin Jefferson, let's talk about him for a second here. He's going up against Trayvon Diggs, one of the few corners who's been able to contain him. Last year when the Vikings played the Cowboys, Jefferson had 2 receptions for 25 yards. His worst game of his career. Now he's going up against Trayvon Diggs once again, which should be a revenge game for Justin Jefferson. Like I've said earlier in the show, I mean, come on, this is not the same Vikings team. We're going to actually throw the ball to him this year. It doesn't matter. I mean, Trayvon Diggs is Trayvon Diggs, but it doesn't matter who you throw in Justin Jefferson. You are throwing the ball to Jefferson 10 times a game because he's that guy. He will come down with just about everything that you give to him. And it was kind of just when we watched the Vikings offense run last year, and it was maybe the worst. We'll say last year against the Dallas Cowboys, that was the game that hurt me the most. That's what we'll say. Because I have never been torn apart like I did watching the Cowboys game where the Vikings lost at home to Cooper Rush last year. We just weren't throwing past the sticks. They were throwing these screen passes to fullbacks, these screen passes to Tyler Conklin. I don't know what they were doing. We ran what was the worst offense in the entire league last year. I mean, if Mike Zimmer and Clint Kubiak were this bad, why didn't they just go look at Madden? Take a playbook from Madden, it'll be better than what the Vikings brought last year against the Cowboys. Entirely different team. The Vikings are actually going to be prepared in this game. And against the Dallas Cowboys team where, yes, their defense has been great this season. They've been excellent at turning the ball over. They've been rushing the passer in the passer's face all game long. Their edge rushers are insane, highlighted by Micah Parsons, who is a monster. This guy defied the laws of physics. How tall is this guy? How big is this guy? And he can run faster than anybody else on the field. What a beast. But looking at it right now, I think that the Vikings have what it takes to get the better of this Cowboys defense. And I don't think that. I know that. I mean, look at the Vikings and how they've been able to pick defenses apart this season. Starting it off, I'm going to start off with my key on offense. Establish the run. Please, 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 please get Dalvin Cook going in the run game. I know I just talked about how you can pass all you want. I mean, Justin Jefferson's a monster. You can do whatever you want. Just get going in the run game. Because like we've seen from the Vikings throughout the season, when you get going in the run game, you're setting up the pass game. Then everybody looks good. When Dalvin Cook looks good, everyone around him looks great. And now you're going up against a Cowboys defense who's allowed 143 rushing yards per game, which is 29th in the entire league. Yes, their defense might be good, but they are terrible at stopping the run. And when you're going up against a Minnesota Vikings offense who is able to run the ball like they can with Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison, one of the best 1-2 punches in the backfield in this entire league, CJ Ham, the lead blocker, you got players in the offensive line who are great in run blocking too. Looking at it for the Vikings, I mean, get going in the run game because this is what leads you to a great offense. And the Cowboys defense is not something you want to throw on all game long. Now, the Vikings, like I say, pass game, run game, it doesn't matter. Our Vikings offense is great. But looking at it when we play the Cowboys, they have a cornerback who's been able to lock down wide receiver ones. They have Leighton Vander Esch who can shut down tight ends. They have edge rushers who can be in your face all game long. So when I say establish the run game, I'm not just talking about handing the ball off to Dalvin Cook to get going in the pass game later. I'm saying Kirk needs to move. Kirk's got to move with this ball because Micah Parsons going to be in his face all game long. We might have one of the best, if not the best, tackle duo in the league. But is anybody going to be able to stop Micah Parsons? Are we going to be able to stop their defensive front from getting to the passer? That's a question that's going to be answered on Sunday. But as of right now, it's looking like they're going to be in Kirk Cousins' face for all 4 quarters. So for that reason, Kirk's got to move. We got to get going in the run game. Got to run the ball on them because that is what the Vikings can do, and that is what they can't stop. So looking at it for the Minnesota Vikings, run the ball, run setups to pass, establish the run early in the game. Perfect. That's a recipe for success on the Minnesota Vikings offense. Now, the problem is when you turn your eyes to this Vikings defense. A Vikings defense that is, like I've said so far this season, just weird. A Vikings defense that is first in turnovers. A Vikings defense that edge rushing duo has more pressures of quarterbacks than any other edge rushing duo in this league. But at the same time, it's a Vikings defense who gives up far too many passing yards and rushing yards per game. So for that reason, my key to success on the Minnesota Vikings defense is just hitting on your open field tackles. If there is one thing that has helped the Cowboys to their success so far this season, it's the fact that they get the running backs one-on-one against linebackers, one-on-one against safeties. And for that reason, Tony Pollard, after watching him these last couple of weeks, that might be one of the most explosive running backs in the league. You need to hit on your open field tackles. Hitting on your open field tackles is how you can stop these explosive plays from their running backs. Looking at it for the Minnesota Vikings, bold prediction of the week. I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson's game. I think Justin Jefferson is going to eat. He has a bad taste in his mouth last year against Trayvon Diggs, who only allowed 25 receiving yards to him, and is going to fuel that into his energy for this game, where he will have his first career hat trick, where Justin Jefferson, for the first time in his career, will have 3 touchdowns in one game. He's not known for touchdowns. He isn't. He's known for setting up 1-yard rushing touchdowns for Dalvin Cook. That's what he's known for. But looking at Justin Jefferson, he has the occasional large gain that he always ends up 1 yard short of the end zone. It's so weird to see, but I mean, he's a monster. And I think now he's going to be the target that we're going to start going to more in the end zone, start going to more in the red zone. He should be that guy for the Vikings. And now he is going to eat against Trayvon Diggs, in my opinion. And this leads me on to my final prediction for this game. Minnesota Vikings 28, Dallas Cowboys 27. Again, although I think the Vikings should win this game by a margin, it's very unlikely going to happen because it feels like every victory we get is just a 1-score victory. It doesn't feel like that. Every victory that we've got this season has been 1 score. So I have this one going down to the wire, 1 point where Kirk Cousins lead us to another game-winning drive. He has led us to 5 game-winning drives this season. Just a monster when it comes to the fourth quarter. I don't know what. People call him the noon nightmare. People call him the fourth quarter King. I don't know what people are calling him. People have a new nickname for Kirk Cousins every week, so this is likely going to continue that way. It's not a noon game, so they won't call him that. I don't know what, but likely another fourth quarter comeback at the end of the day. Minnesota Vikings 28, Dallas Cowboys 27. I think the Cowboys are good, but I just think the Vikings are going to continue this rhythm going. I have us winning by 1 point because, again, we'll win by just slight margins, but at the end of the day, Vikings 9-1. Here we go.